Once, the galaxy knew only silence. The storms of the warp had faded, great raging tempests that had swallowed worlds whole for millennia, and from the ashes of isolation, humanity rose once more. On Terra, a golden light stirred, not of nature, but of will. The Emperor, the master of mankind, stood upon his throne, and the silence of ages shattered before his voice. Mankind will walk among the stars again. With those words, the Great Crusade began. Billions of hearts beat as one. Soldiers, engineers, pioneers, united under the promise of a single destiny, to reunite the lost children of Earth and bring order to a broken galaxy. In the void above Terra, fleets were forged, each vessel a cathedral of steel, sanctified by faith and fire. The Mechanicum sang their hymns of ignition, their engines roaring like newborn suns. The Emperor's vision was no dream. It was a command to the stars themselves. But the Emperor did not march alone. From his laboratories came warriors beyond imagining, the Legiones Astartes, men remade into demigods, born not of nature, but of design. They were the Emperor's angels, his living wrath, the chosen instruments of his divine order. And across the scattered worlds of man, 20 sons awaited him. The Primarchs, each a reflection of his genius and his burden. One by one, he found them in wastelands, on thrones, in battlefields drenched in the blood of forgotten wars. With every reunion, the galaxy trembled, and the Great Crusade grew stronger. Planet by planet, system by system, humanity was reclaimed. The Emperor's words spread like holy fire. There shall be no more darkness, no more division, only the light of unity. Civilizations bowed before the golden banners of Terra, some with reverence, others with fear. But the stars did not yield easily. Ancient empires watched the return of mankind with dread. Alien gods whispered in the shadows of dying worlds, and the legions brought the Emperor's peace. Through flame, the galaxy burned, not in hatred, but in purpose. At the center of it all stood the Emperor, serene, unyielding. His was the mind that spanned eternity. His was the will that bent reality to order. Yet behind his golden gaze there was something unspoken, a quiet knowing that all victories come at a price. The crusade became a tide, unstoppable, endless. Across 10,000 worlds, mankind's banners rose again. The void was filled with light, and for the first time in a millennium, humanity looked to the stars not with fear, but with pride. Yet even as glory spread, the seeds of betrayal took root. The sons he had found would not all remain loyal. Some whispered doubts, others questioned his silence. And in the vastness of the Great Crusade, the first cracks in eternity began to form. But not yet, for now there was only triumph, the roar of victory, the thunder of holy conquest. Humanity marched beneath the light of the master of mankind, and the heavens themselves trembled in awe. The Great Crusade had begun. The stars, once silent, now echoed with the sound of humanity's return. Yet in the heart of that golden dawn, the shadow of the broken millennium was already waiting. Soft echo, fading voice, glory to the Emperor. For now, the Emperor's gaze swept across the galaxy. For 10 millennia, his children had been torn from his grasp, scattered like stars before the coming of the Great Crusade. And yet, he knew where each waited, in worlds broken, hidden, or forged by strife. Through the warp, he saw the threads of destiny intertwine. Each thread led to a Primarch, a son designed to carry the weight of humanity itself. And as the crusade advanced, these sons would rise, to shape the fate of stars. On a scorched desert world, the first was found, towering above his people, a king among mortals. His eyes burned with the fire of 1,000 suns, his hand raised not in command, but in destiny. In the frozen peaks of another world, another awaited, a warrior born to rule by the strength of his arm and the clarity of his mind. The people called him Savior. The Emperor knew him as his son. In the alien jungles of a distant planet, one commanded the loyalty of tribes long untouched by the Imperium. With intellect and charisma, he brought civilization from chaos. and every step closer to the Emperor was a step toward destiny. On worlds torn by rebellion, he found leaders, not kings nor tyrants, but men who could stand unshaken amid fire and ruin. Each Primarch a mirror of his mind, each path the key to mankind's unity. When a Primarch finally recognized him, the galaxy seemed to pause. Silence fell over the city as father and son locked eyes. Destiny whispered in the winds of time. The crusade was no longer merely his will, it had become theirs. The Emperor did not simply reunite with them, he prepared them. For each Primarch would command legions, instruments of war, angels of humanity. They were to be both shield and sword, the living embodiment of his vision. Across worlds the suns gathered. Each planet bore witness to miracles of engineering, of Jinn forging, of faith. The people of the Imperium watched in awe as heroes walked among them, sons of a godlike father. But not all was light. Even as his sons rose, whispers of rebellion stirred in the shadows of the warp. The seeds of doubt had begun to grow. The galaxy's destiny, fragile as glass, trembled with unseen threats. The moment of reunion was also a moment of power. Each Primarch, in golden armor or ceremonial robes, stood ready to reshape the universe. Together they were awe-inspiring, singular, and yet part of a greater whole. The sons of the Emperor were not just warriors. They were saviors, teachers, leaders, legends walking among men. Wherever they went, hope spread like fire through the ashes of despair. And still the Emperor watched. Every decision weighed, every step measured. The Great Crusade was no longer a conquest of worlds, but a shaping of destiny itself. The scattered children of mankind had been gathered. Their paths converged under one banner, one purpose, one vision. The Imperium was not yet complete, but it would rise with unstoppable might. And so, beneath the gaze of the Eternal Father, the Primarchs stood, all reverence and destiny intertwined. The Great Crusade had its champions. The galaxy had its heroes. And the age of man's rebirth was now truly begun. The Emperor had reunited his sons. They were awe-inspiring, perfect in purpose, yet even perfection can breed uncertainty. Beneath the golden light of Terra, subtle tensions began to stir, questions whispered where none should have dared, ambition flickering in hidden hearts. One looked upon his brothers and wondered, why was he not supreme? Why did the Great Crusade elevate others before him? These thoughts were small at first, mere shadows in a brilliant mind, but shadows grow with time. Among the legions, murmurs of doubt began to ripple. A captain questioned the Emperor's plans. A veteran murmured discontent at the rise of another Primarch's fame. In the smallest cracks of unity, the seeds of dissent were planted. Even the warp, restless and malevolent, fed on these weaknesses. Shadows slipped through the veil of reality, whispering temptation, offering shortcuts, power, and forbidden knowledge. The seeds of corruption were subtle, almost invisible, yet they thrived in the silence between loyalty and pride. Some sought understanding beyond their father's teaching. Ancient tomes, relics of lost worlds, forbidden rituals, knowledge that promised insight but always demanded a price. Their curiosity, noble in intent, became the quiet harbinger of chaos. Across the galaxy, not all welcomed the Imperium's light. Rebellion smoldered on worlds freshly claimed. Even the greatest sons of the Emperor faced humanity's imperfections, fear, envy, and defiance. These were not victories easily won. They were battles that revealed cracks in the Crusade's shining veneer. The sons of the Emperor spoke in hushed tones. Some questioned the wisdom of Terra's guidance. Others contemplated deeds that would make their mark on history, or break it entirely. Unity, so carefully forged, trembled under the weight of ambition. In hidden corners, the warp watched. It whispered to those already questioning, stirring their doubts into storms of desire. None yet yielded, but the seeds had taken root. Across the infinite black, fleets of the Imperium sailed toward new horizons. But even in triumph, silence can harbor disquiet. Not all eyes looked upon the stars with hope. Some scanned the void for opportunity, or betrayal. A hand clenched a blade in quiet frustration. Another lingered on a hololithic map, eyes narrowing at his brother's conquest. Such small moments, seemingly insignificant, were threads in a web that could unravel an empire. Even amidst celebration, the air was taut. Eyes that should have been loyal flicked with envy. Words that should have inspired whispered caution instead. The seeds of dissent were patient, biding their time. And so the Great Crusade pressed on, triumphant yet uneasy. Beneath every victory, the seeds of doubt had been sown. A quiet tension lingered, a foreboding shadow that none could yet name, but all would one day feel. For every light casts a shadow, and even the sons of the Emperor are not immune. Among the Primarchs, one shone brighter than the rest. Horus, the chosen, the favored, the first to walk in his father's shadow, and yet carve his own legend. From the moment the Emperor beheld him, it was clear, destiny had chosen Horus to lead. In his first campaigns he led with unmatched skill. His strategies were precise, his courage unyielding, his presence inspiring. Soldiers of the Imperium would follow him to the ends of the galaxy without hesitation, without question. Even among the mighty, Horus' glory was undeniable. Other sons observed him, admiration in their eyes, yet a subtle tension lingered, the mark of envy quietly forming. The legions themselves felt it. The roar of the Space Marines echoed his name. The thunder of their steps matched his heart. Horus did not merely command, he inspired. He was a living beacon of unity and pride. In ceremonial halls, he walked as a paragon of perfection. Golden armor reflecting the light of Terra, his eyes filled with the fire of purpose. Every movement measured, majestic, commanding admiration and loyalty alike. The Emperor entrusted him with command, granting him authority over countless worlds and fleets. Horus' decisions shaped the Imperium's destiny. His victories became legends whispered across the stars. His charisma drew men to him. Officers and soldiers alike swore fealty to Horus, not out of fear, but respect, pride, and shared ambition. Everywhere he walked, loyalty followed. Everywhere he looked, admiration blossomed. Yet glory is a dangerous flame. Every triumph, every word of praise, fanned the embers of pride in his heart. He was human, and even the greatest of men can be tempted by the thrill of being adored. The Emperor himself felt pride in this son. Horus embodied the vision of the Great Crusade, a leader of unmatched courage, wisdom, and skill. And yet, even in admiration, the seeds of doubt and envy began to stir, among others, and perhaps even within Horus himself. The favored son marched forward, banners high, legions loyal, the galaxy awaiting his command. The rise of Horus was not merely the ascent of one Primarch, it was the dawn of a legend, a glory that would shine across 1,000 worlds, and cast shadows that no one yet could see. Even as the Great Crusade spread light across the stars, darkness stirred in the hidden spaces between worlds. The warp whispered, subtle, unseen, insidious, a voice promising power, insight, freedom, at a price no mortal had yet considered. One by one, the sons of the Emperor felt it, thoughts that were not their own, fleeting visions of glory and terror. Shadows sliding across their minds, twisting ambition into desire, pride into curiosity. On distant worlds, cults unknown to the Imperium performed rites that warped reality itself. The warp seeped through cracks in the material universe, touching hearts and minds, planting seeds that would bloom only in the darkness of man's weakness. Some discovered artifacts, remnants of lost civilizations, ancient beyond reckoning. They were beautiful, powerful, and dangerous. The mind reaches for knowledge, and the warp watches patiently, shaping the desire into corruption. Even the legions, loyal beyond measure, were not immune. Whispers of doubt, strange visions, questions that festered in the shadows. What was right? What was forbidden? What could not be spoken aloud? The seeds of corruption spread silently, insidiously. Reality bent around them, fleeting images of war, of chaos, of what could be. The mind teetered between fear and fascination. Each choice, each step, nudged closer to shadows that should not exist. The warp is patient. It does not rush. It does not strike openly. It whispers. It lingers. And those who listen along begin to see the world as it could be, not as it should be, eyes widened with understanding or horror. A single vision could ignite curiosity, and curiosity is a path no mortal can predict. What is power? What is freedom? And what is loyalty if it binds the soul? The darkness travels silently, infecting minds, twisting reality, turning loyalty into doubt, pride into temptation. It is patient, eternal, unseen, yet it touches every corner of the Imperium. Knowledge is seductive, and the warp uses it. Tomes that speak truths too dangerous, relics of unspeakable power, all feeding the slow, inevitable corruption that will one day shatter even the strongest bonds. Even the greatest sons of the Emperor could feel it, subtle at first, then undeniable. A chill in the heart, a whisper at the edge of thought. The future trembled with possibilities both magnificent and horrific. Whispers spread not just through the minds of Primarchs, but through the hearts of men. Fear, suspicion, desire, the perfect storm for chaos to take root. In the depths of the warp, horrors awaited. Shapes that could only exist in thought, in fear, in dreams of the ambitious. And they waited, patient, watching, hungry. Some resisted, some faltered. Each confrontation with the whisper carved a scar upon the soul. Even heroes are not immune to doubt, and doubt grows in silence. The Great Crusade pressed onward, shining like a beacon across the galaxy. Yet in the spaces between light, the shadows waited. The whispers in the warp would not be denied, and the seeds of corruption were already sown, waiting for the day they would bloom. The whispers had become murmurs, the shadows stretching their tendrils across the Imperium. Secrets once buried, now found cracks to seep through, infecting hearts and minds with dread. In the streets of conquered worlds, the people spoke in hushed tones. Rebellion, though small, festered quietly, feeding on fear and uncertainty. Even the most loyal soldiers sensed something shifting beneath the surface. Hidden cults, devoted to powers unseen, moved in secrecy. Ancient chants echoed in hidden chambers, their rituals imperceptible to the eye. Yet the warp trembled in anticipation of their devotion. Not all loyalty was pure. Among the sons of the Emperor, subtle doubts began to twist into dangerous thoughts. A single whisper, a careful suggestion, and the seeds of betrayal took root. The warp, patient and malevolent, watched the Imperium with delight. Shadows lengthened, reality bent, and fear whispered to every mind receptive to temptation. Fleets, once symbols of hope, now carried uncertainty. Commanders questioned orders quietly. Officers feared speaking too freely. Dread spread faster than fire, invisible yet undeniable. Even the greatest sons of the Emperor were not immune. A moment of hesitation, a fleeting doubt, and the shadow grew, twisting resolve into hesitation, and hesitation into fear. On worlds untouched by the Crusade, devastation whispered lessons. Civilizations destroyed, cultures lost. A silent warning of the fragility of order and the ease with which shadows can spread. Conspiracy grew in hidden halls. Quiet councils whispered forbidden ideas, plotting against unseen enemies, and perhaps even against their own leaders. The shadow of betrayal grew longer with every secret meeting. Fear became a companion to those who marched for the Imperium. Every corner could conceal danger. Every shadow could hide a traitor. Dread was a silent companion, constant and insidious. In moments of quiet, the sons of the Emperor glimpsed the truth of the shadows. Something waited beyond the veil, patient, hungry, and eternal. And yet, none could confront it fully, for even acknowledgement was perilous. Across the galaxy, the shadows spread. Fear, secrecy, and dread touched worlds, fleets, and hearts alike. The Imperium marched onward, blind to the growing corruption that would one day ignite the flames of rebellion. The favorite son of the Emperor had fallen. Whispers in the warp, patient and insidious, had taken root in his heart. Horus, once the beacon of unity, now carried the seed of rebellion. He spoke to those who had long questioned the Emperor's vision. Promises of freedom, power, and revenge hung in the air. The first conspirators bent their loyalty toward a new dark cause. The touch of the warp was undeniable. Power beyond measure beckoned him, twisting his mind, fueling ambition with corruption. The hero of the crusade became the instrument of catastrophe. Horus struck swiftly. Worlds that had celebrated the Emperor's triumph were thrown into chaos. Cities burned, fleets clashed, and the screams of innocence echoed across the void. Trust shattered, loyalty turned to ash. The other sons of the Emperor recoiled in shock. How could the chosen, the beloved, turn against them? The bonds of brotherhood cracked beneath the weight of treachery. No corner of the Imperium was spared. Explosions tore through starports. Citizens ran from the fires that marked the beginning of a galaxy-wide civil war. Chaos had revealed its hand and its hunger. Legions once loyal now followed the call of rebellion. Their banners defiled, their cries of victory twisted into chants of heresy. The Imperium's glory became a battlefield of blood and fire. The sons of the Emperor faced the impossible, to fight a brother, to spill blood against blood. Tragedy had arrived in full, irreversible form. The warp responded with fury. Storms erupted, tearing at reality, feeding on the chaos and death. The galaxy itself seemed to scream in anguish. Plots unfolded in hidden halls. Every council, every command post became a theater of deceit and treachery. Secrets became weapons, and every shadow hid a dagger. The loyal sons of the Emperor could only react. Battles raged, alliances fractured, the scale of betrayal overwhelming even the mightiest warriors. Horus stood as the face of ruin. What had begun as whispers now became thunder. His victory was a tragedy, his glory a curse. Symbols of the dark gods marked every conquered world. Fear, despair, and corruption spread like wildfire through the Imperium. Even the most steadfast warriors faltered. The betrayal was everywhere, and nowhere felt safe. The Great Crusade was now a war against brother and brother, a darkness within the light. The shadow had spread to the very heart of humanity. The first day of the Horus Heresy had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The light of the Emperor's vision dimmed. Worlds once united now trembled under the weight of doubt. Even Terra, the heart of humanity, seemed smaller, fragile, uncertain. The sons of the Emperor, once proud and unyielding, gathered in quiet halls. Eyes filled with questions, hearts weighed by uncertainty. Who could be trusted? Who had fallen to the whispers of the warp? Across the Imperium, the aftermath of betrayal was visible. Cities lay in ruins, populations fractured, and survivors walked in a haze of fear and confusion. The age of certainty had ended. A new era of doubt had begun. Faith, once a guiding light, faltered. Soldiers prayed to the Emperor, yet the prayers felt hollow. The glow of hope weakened, leaving shadows where certainty once stood. Twilight stretched across war-torn landscapes, as if the universe itself mourned. Even heroes felt the weight of despair pressing on their souls. Questions replaced orders. Hesitation replaced resolve. The warp, ever patient, fed upon doubt. Its tendrils crept into minds, whispering possibilities, temptations, and fears that could not be ignored. Countless fleets, once symbols of might, floated like empty husks, their victories meaningless in the shadow of betrayal. Silence replaced the thunder of war, and despair replaced the pride of conquest. Even the greatest warriors questioned their choices. Each decision weighed heavily, each command felt like stepping into uncertainty, and every step forward risked further collapse. Planets burned, cultures vanished, and once great worlds became tombs of regret. The cost of betrayal was measured not only in lives lost, but in the fading light of hope. Legions marched onward, but their spirits wavered. The courage that had carried them across the stars now flickered, like candlelight against the wind. The Emperor himself bore the weight of failure and doubt. The vision of a united galaxy seemed further away than ever, obscured by shadow and fear. The age of doubt settled across the galaxy. The light of mankind faded, and the shadows of despair stretched long and unrelenting. Yet somewhere, deep in the hearts of men, a faint ember of hope remained, fragile but unextinguished. The heresy spread like wildfire. Worlds that had once celebrated the Emperor's triumph now fell beneath the iron grip of traitor legions. Cities burned, skies filled with smoke, and the screams of the innocent echoed across the void. Even the mightiest warriors clashed against those who had once stood as brothers. Loyalty was tested, blood spilled against blood, and honor became a battlefield of ashes. Civilians fled in terror, their homes destroyed, their lives shattered. The Imperium's promise of protection was torn apart, replaced by the chaos of war. Traitor fleets struck with precision and fury, leaving nothing but ruin in their wake. Starports collapsed, defense systems shattered, and planets fell before the might of rebellion. The warp roared in response to the carnage, darkening skies, twisting reality, and spreading fear. Each battle left scars upon the very fabric of worlds, visible and invisible. Leaders who resisted the corruption were eliminated swiftly. Fear became a weapon, obedience a fragile illusion, and dissent a death sentence. Banners of loyalty were defiled, monuments to the Emperor toppled. Symbols of hope and unity became reminders of devastation and betrayal. Even the Emperor's sons could do little to stem the tide. Battles were lost, cities fell, and the weight of failure pressed down on the shoulders of heroes. Across countless worlds, silence followed destruction. Streets once filled with life became tombs of stone and ash, echoing with the memory of what had been lost. Survivors struggled to rally, patching together fragments of defense, but each victory came at unbearable cost. The Imperium bled, yet refused to surrender. Above, warp storms raged, devouring fleets, tearing reality, and adding new horrors to the destruction. The galaxy itself seemed to mourn the fall of loyal worlds. The heresy had become unstoppable. Loyal worlds burned, civilizations fell, and the Imperium faced its darkest hour. Hope had not vanished entirely, but it flickered weakly in the shadow of devastation. The Emperor of mankind would not watch in silence. Fury burned in his eyes, and the might of the Imperium surged forth to punish the traitors. The galaxy trembled at the return of its greatest champion. Fleet after fleet descended upon rebel-held worlds. The stars themselves seemed to ignite with the fury of vengeance as loyal forces tore into the heart of rebellion. Ground forces descended, their banners waving as symbols of hope and wrath. Loyal soldiers struck with precision and relentless power, reclaiming worlds one brutal battle at a time. The traitors met them with equal fury, corrupted by the warp and driven by rebellion. The clash was apocalyptic, a storm of steel, fire, and blood. The Emperor's sons led the charge, unyielding, righteous, and determined. Every strike was measured, every command calculated, yet the cost was staggering. Worlds scarred by betrayal now witnessed the fury of justice. Flames lit the night, smoke choked the skies, yet the march of loyal forces never faltered. Worlds scarred by betrayal now witnessed the fury of justice. Flames lit the night, smoke choked the skies, yet the march of loyal forces never faltered. Legions pressed on, stepping over rubble and fire. The courage of humanity's greatest warriors was tested to the limit, yet they advanced without pause. The warp, enraged by the defiance of mortals, unleashed fury. Storms tore at reality, feeding the chaos while loyal forces endured, unwavering in purpose. Liberated worlds caught glimpses of hope amidst devastation. Survivors cheered as the Emperor's forces reclaimed their homes, though much remained in ruins. Horus forces were driven back, yet they did not fall quietly. Retreat carried bitterness, and every victory was a reminder of the relentless scale of the war. The Emperor's wrath was both justice and warning. The galaxy's blood had been spilled, yet the Imperium endured. But the fires of the heresy had not been quenched. They only burned brighter in the shadows. The shadow of the heresy lengthened across the stars. Even as the Emperor's light shone on some worlds, darkness crept into every corner of the galaxy. Chaos whispered, patient and relentless. Horus forces regrouped. Every defeat was met with cunning, every retreat with new strategies of terror. Corruption spread silently, unseen until it was too late. On countless worlds, the innocent cowered. Families hid in ruins, hearts heavy with despair, as the shadow deepened over their lives. The loyal forces sought to stem the tide, but plans faltered. Every counterattack was costly, every victory partial, and every moment brought the threat closer to home. In the shadows, cults and traitors worked tirelessly. Their rituals poised minds, shattered faith, and gave shape to horrors yet unseen by mortal eyes. The Emperor's sons watched with growing dread. Worlds they had once saved now fell under invisible chains, and despair gnawed at even the strongest hearts. Battles raged, yet the victories of loyalists were fleeting. Ships shattered, planets burned, and the galaxy became a stage for endless tragic conflict. Horrors from the warp prowled the edges of reality. Nightmares made flesh, they struck fear into even the most battle-hardened warriors. Yet even in despair, humanity endured. Soldiers marched through ash and ruin, their resolve heavy, their spirits tested, but unbroken. Temples to false gods rose where once devotion to the Emperor had flourished. Shadows of corruption claimed the hearts of worlds, twisting faith into fanaticism. The heresy was far from over. Darkness spread like a living tide, consuming hope and leaving a galaxy teetering on the edge of annihilation. The shadows deepened, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. Amid the ash and ruin, a faint light shimmered. Hope, fragile yet persistent, whispered across battle-scarred worlds. Even in the darkest hour, humanity clung to the promise of tomorrow. Across shattered cities, survivors tended to the fallen. Each act of care, each hand extended in mercy, became a defiance of despair, a flicker of life against overwhelming darkness. Legions of the Emperor still stood, unbowed. Strongholds held firm against traitor assaults, proving that courage could withstand even the mightiest storm. The Emperor's sons guided the faithful, reminding them that every victory, however small, mattered. Even in sorrow, determination burned bright in their hearts. The innocent, often forgotten in war, glimpsed hope in the courage around them. Their fear was tempered by the promise that some would protect what remained of their worlds. On battlefields and in orbit, loyal forces struck back. Traitor fleets were scattered, some worlds reclaimed, each victory a spark against the consuming night. Even the warp could not entirely snuff out the light. Rifts closed, dark powers faltered, and the galaxy remembered that chaos was not absolute. On reclaimed planets, the people began to rebuild. Brick by brick, life returned, fragile yet stubborn, defying the darkness that had sought to consume it. The Emperor's sons inspired faith, offering guidance to those weary from endless war. Their presence reminded humanity that even in loss, they were not abandoned. Across the stars, tiny flames of resistance glimmered. Worlds scarred by betrayal began to pulse with renewed determination, fragile but alive. Faith, though tested, endured. Each prayer, each act of loyalty became an echo of hope that refused to fade. The heresy had scarred the galaxy, yet the spark of hope remained. Fragile, fleeting, but unbroken, humanity's heart beat on, daring to survive another day. The galaxy erupted into unrelenting fire. Worlds burned, starports collapsed, and the heavens themselves seemed to scream as war consumed all. Horus' treachery knew no bounds. Coordinated assaults tore through loyalist defenses, leaving devastation in every system. The Emperor's fleets met the traitors with fury and precision. Explosions lit the void as titanic warships clashed, each strike a testament to humanity's desperate survival. Cities crumbled under the weight of orbital bombardments. Innocent lives were swallowed by the inferno, collateral to a war that knew no mercy. Among the chaos, warriors fought with unyielding resolve. Boardings erupted into brutal melee, the clash of steel echoing across the void. The warp responded to the carnage, twisting reality, summoning horrors beyond comprehension. Entire fleets vanished into its maelstrom, leaving nothing but silence in their wake. Worlds that once flourished now lay in ruin, barren and lifeless. Civilization was a fleeting memory, written over in fire and shadow. Horus' sons, emboldened by rebellion, led their legions with ruthless efficiency. Their loyalty to chaos fueled an unstoppable tide of destruction. Even the Emperor watched, weighing each decision, every strike a balance between salvation and total annihilation. The fate of countless worlds hung on his choices. Amid the devastation, humanity clung desperately to life. Every step, every breath was a defiance of the all-consuming fire that surrounded them. The scale of conflict defied imagination. Entire systems were theaters of horror, and the void itself seemed to bleed. The galaxy burned. No world was safe, no life spared, and the shadow of the heresy stretched across every star. The Imperium survived by the slimmest margin, yet chaos thrived in every corner, and the war would rage on for eternity. In the silence after the fires, the true cost of betrayal became clear. Cities lay in ruins, monuments to pride and hope reduced to ash. Every fallen building was a reminder of what was lost. Warriors wept for those who would never rise again. The bonds of brotherhood were shattered by treachery, leaving grief in every heart. The innocent bore the heaviest burden, families torn apart, lives extinguished, and hope dimmed beneath the weight of tragedy. Even the Emperor's sons could not escape the shadow of grief. Every loss, every scar on the galaxy weighed upon their conscience, a reminder of the cost of rebellion. Faith itself had been tested. Shrines lay desecrated, symbols of devotion trampled, yet flickers of belief endured in hearts unbroken. The Imperium's forces regrouped, ships repaired, armies replenished, yet the memories of carnage lingered like ghosts in every corner of the galaxy. Civilization itself had been scarred. The machines of progress lay silent, and the labor of generations was reduced to rubble. Yet vigilance persisted. Guardians of humanity remained, mourning in silence while preparing for the battles that would inevitably come. The warp's corruption lingered. Shadows of chaos threatened to rise again, a reminder that betrayal leaves wounds that time cannot heal. In small acts of kindness, hope flickered. Aid to the suffering, a hand extended to the grieving, fragile defiance against the weight of loss. Across the stars, scars of betrayal were etched into every world. The galaxy remembered the cost, and every heart that survived carried the burden of grief. Betrayal had reshaped the galaxy. Grief, reflection, and the heavy toll of war became the legacy of the heresy, a somber lesson etched in fire and blood. Even in the shadow of despair, sparks of defiance ignited. Hidden cells of loyalists and free citizens plotted rebellion, their whispered plans carrying the weight of hope against overwhelming odds. Weapons were salvaged, improvised armies assembled. Courage was forged in secrecy, and every strike planned was a silent oath of defiance. The traitors marched with arrogance, unaware of the resistance building beneath their feet. Shadows moved, patience sharpened like blades, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Rebellion flared in sudden violence. Flames rose as traitors were struck unexpectedly, the sound of gunfire and explosions echoing through broken streets. Primarchs and Space Marines rallied the faithful, training civilians into soldiers, transforming desperation into disciplined fury. In orbit, loyalist fleets struck without warning. Traitor ships shattered and chaos rippled through their lines as the balance of power shifted, if only slightly. Every small act mattered. Civilians supplied the brave, tending the wounded, and ensuring the fire of rebellion did not die in darkness. Guerrilla strikes became a constant threat. The traitors learned to fear every corner, every shadow, as the uprising spread like wildfire across planets. Victories were hard-won and fleeting, yet they inspired hope. Flags of loyalty rose over captured points, small triumphs against the tide of chaos. Horus' sons felt the sting of defiance. Even their might was challenged, their arrogance pierced by the persistence of the few who dared resist. In the dark, plans continued to form. Every whispered word, every tactical map, was a thread weaving the fragile tapestry of rebellion. Across star systems, fires of rebellion blazed. Though small, they carried the promise that humanity's spirit had not yet been extinguished. In the grim darkness, hope fought to endure. The heretics' triumph was swift and merciless. Loyal bastions fell to the tides of rebellion turned treachery. Flames consumed the symbols of hope, and terror reigned supreme. Horus and his sons reveled in their victories. Every conquered world, every slaughtered army, bolstered the darkness that spread across the galaxy. Innocents scattered under fire, their cries swallowed by the chaos of battle. Families were torn apart, leaving only fear and despair as witnesses to the heresy's rise. Warp storms surged with the triumph, twisting reality itself. Shadows grew long, and nightmares crawled from the edges of existence, feeding on fear and blood. Even the bravest loyalists were forced to flee. Retreat became survival, and survival meant bearing witness to the horrors left in the heretics' wake. In the darkness, cults thrived, temples once sacred were defiled, and the power of the false gods surged as corruption took root. The Emperor's sons could only watch, their hearts heavy with grief and fury. For every victory they achieved, the heretic's shadow claimed another world, another soul. Bravery clashed with inevitability. The brave fell under the weight of superior numbers and dark sorcery, their courage a fleeting spark in an endless night. Entire systems succumbed. Worlds once thriving were reduced to cinders, their histories erased in the blink of a heretic's fury. Horus claimed his dark triumph, a reminder that rebellion, cunning, and betrayal could bend even the mightiest galaxy to its will. Horror reigned, and the Imperium trembled. The galaxy trembled as loyalists gathered for their last stand. Against overwhelming odds, they prepared to defend the remaining bastions of humanity with courage and unyielding resolve. Space Marines, clad in battle-worn armor, charged into impossible odds. Each strike was a testament to duty, each swing of the blade a declaration that humanity would not yield without a fight. The Emperor's sons inspired valor. With unwavering authority, they rallied the broken, giving hope to those who believed all was lost. Yet the enemy pressed relentlessly. Flames rose, steel shattered, and every inch gained was paid for in blood and sacrifice. Even in the chaos, the faithful assisted the fighters. Every act of courage, every helping hand, became a lifeline amid despair. Heroes fell, their names whispered in reverence. Each death carved a path for others, each sacrifice a spark of defiance against total annihilation. Artillery roared from orbit, raining destruction on advancing enemies. It was not enough to turn the tide, but it bought precious time for the brave to hold the line. Every soldier fought with ferocity, knowing the cost of failure. Steel clashed with corrupted steel, and screams echoed across the battlefield. The land itself was scarred. Mountains crumbled, rivers boiled, and cities lay in ruin, testament to the ferocity of the battle waged for survival. Amid destruction, small bands of survivors pressed onward. Their resilience defied the despair, proving that even in the darkest hour, life clung stubbornly to existence. Symbols of loyalty still flew, unwavering in the storm of war. They reminded all who witnessed that courage and honor remained, even as the galaxy burned around them. And so the last stand was fought. Bravery, sacrifice, and grim determination blazed against the shadow of chaos, a fleeting moment of light in a galaxy consumed by war. In the darkest hour, the Emperor revealed his unyielding wrath. His presence alone struck terror into the hearts of the traitors, for no force in the galaxy could match his might. Armadas of loyalists moved as one, guided by his vision. Ships bristled with firepower, their coordinated strikes raining devastation upon the traitor fleets. With a sweep of his will, worlds themselves bowed. Mountains shattered, skies split by lightning, and entire armies were thrown into chaos by his psychic might. Even the mightiest traitor sons trembled. Their arrogance faltered as they faced the Emperor's righteous fury, the embodiment of unassailable authority. Planets long oppressed saw hope reborn. Loyalists rallied, reclaiming bastions of civilization while the traitors faltered beneath the Emperor's inexorable hand. Every warrior felt his presence. Space Marines struck with precision, each blow a reflection of the Emperor's will, cutting a swath through the enemy. Even the warp itself bowed before his wrath. Chaotic storms unraveled, their malignant energies dissipating under the weight of his authority. The traitors fled, scattered and broken, their ranks shattered, their victories crumbled, leaving only ruin in the wake of the Emperor's vengeance. Survivors rejoiced, though the cost was great. Their hope, tempered by suffering, shone brighter under the gaze of the one who would lead them through the darkness. Across the stars his wrath was absolute. The galaxy witnessed the power of the Emperor, a grimdark climax of fury, justice, and overwhelming might. The fires of war finally dimmed, leaving only ruins and echoes. Worlds were scarred, civilizations broken, and the price of betrayal etched across the stars. The fires of war finally dimmed, leaving only ruins and echoes. Worlds were scarred, civilizations broken, and the price of betrayal etched across the stars. The brave who survived carried the weight of loss. Every fallen comrade a reminder that even victory demanded the highest sacrifice. The innocents bore silent witness. Homes destroyed, lives ended, families torn, yet still, some dared to rise and endure. The Emperor reflected upon the galaxy's suffering. His wrath had been absolute, yet even his power could not erase the scars of betrayal. Slowly, recovery began. Cities were rebuilt, crops replanted, and whispers of hope emerged amidst the desolation. The Primarchs walked among the ruins, offering solace and guidance. Their presence inspired loyalty, even in the shadow of grimdark devastation. Memorials rose across scarred worlds, names of the dead engraved in stone, a lasting testament to courage and sacrifice. From orbit, the galaxy seemed smaller, yet heavier. Each planet carried its own tale of horror, defiance, and the high cost of rebellion. The survivors trained, rebuilding strength for battles yet to come. Vigilance became their new creed, and every day was a lesson learned in the grim reality of the Imperium. And so the galaxy endured, somber, scarred, yet resolute. The echoes of betrayal and war lingered, but the Imperium, though wounded, would not fall. In the aftermath of war, peace was fragile. Among the Emperor's sons, quiet whispers began, questioning purpose, loyalty, and the price of obedience. Horus, once the favored son, pondered the weight of command. Shadows of doubt crept into his mind, subtle, insidious, and dangerous. Even among the loyal, disagreement arose. Decisions were questioned, and minor grievances festered beneath the surface of unity. Unseen in the warp, malignant forces stirred. Chaos murmured promises of power, subtle manipulations that would shape the hearts of men. Colonies far from Terra simmered with discontent. Small rebellions, ignored at first, hinted at the fractures spreading across the galaxy. Even the Emperor's might could not control every mind. Individual doubts, unspoken fears, and subtle envy took root in the hearts of his sons. Agents of chaos worked silently, planting seeds of discord, exploiting the tiniest cracks to weave a web of future catastrophe. Military operations continued, yet unease lingered. Orders were followed, but hearts wavered, and trust was not absolute. Visions, half-truths, and whispers poisoned the mind of Horus. What began as curiosity slowly transformed into dangerous ambition. Some sought influence, others plotted quietly. Beneath the facade of loyalty, ambitions grew and subtle alliances formed. The Emperor, focused on rebuilding and conquest, sensed little. The seeds of betrayal were silent, hidden beneath the calm surface of unity. Across the stars, the first hints of the Horus Heresy took root. What seemed a galaxy united in triumph was quietly preparing for its greatest catastrophe. For a moment, the stars seemed to hold their breath. Across countless worlds, silence settled, a fragile calm after years of blood and fire. The Emperor watched, ever vigilant. Though peace appeared, he knew the fragility of unity and the darkness that lingered in the hearts of men. Scars of battle remained, cities rebuilt slowly, lives restored cautiously. But beneath the surface, wounds festered, both visible and unseen. Even the Emperor's sons felt it, a subtle unease. Shadows of doubt and ambition lingered, seeds planted in quiet moments of contemplation. Armadas moved silently through the void, their vigilance a reminder that even in calm, the galaxy was never truly at rest. On forgotten worlds, whispers of chaos stirred. Corruption crept in like a shadow, invisible yet inevitable, preparing the stage for betrayal. One figure walked alone, destiny unseen. Choices were made in silence, setting the wheels of tragedy in motion. The galaxy held its breath, unaware of the storm approaching. Silence, fleeting yet profound, the calm before the heresy. If you make it here, then you are a legend, I'm sure of that. Stay with us for the next on what happened later to Horus and the Emperor. Do well to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel for the next The Stories of the Imperium. Coming up next, the Broken Millennium.